This is One Thought at a Time with Ian Travers, where we get curious about what makes us tick. I'm here today on location with a man who lives and breathes motorsport. Welcome, Adam Palmer.
Hello, Ian. Glad to be here.
Great to be here. This is brilliant. We've chatted and chatted off camera.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
Before we get going, I guess we should say, for those people who are not watching the video footage, tell us where are we?
We're in our little workshop in the middle of Essex. Actually, would it be the middle of Essex? Yes, it would. We've got a Mini Cooper mini challenge car that we're building. We've got a YouTube channel and we're showing that on the channel. Used to do a little bit of racing when I was younger, and I've got to that age now where I feel I've got to answer a few questions, and I've been talked into having a go. To race it. So we're going to build it to race it in the championship. We're going to try and get a couple of rounds in this year,
right?
Hopefully with Graves, because I love Graves. I think they're the dog's danglish, as they say. That's a bit crude. I'm sorry. Nervous at the moment.
Yeah, that's fine.
The idea is to build it and race it. We're just going to plod along with that, really. So
the YouTube channel, the car that we're in front of, if anyone's curious to see where we're sat and what the car is, they can actually go to your YouTube channel.
They can, Minis and Motorbikes. Every Tuesday, 8 o'clock. Like, subscribe.
Yeah, and it's fascinating. I mean, if you've got a modicum of interest in cars, motorsport, minis, or good banter,
it's a whole cornucopia.
A cornucopia. There's a word. That's today's word.
So we're interested. Obviously, motorbikes. We're interested in the TT, everything, anything motor racing. We've interviewed some good drivers and motorcycle races and stuff.
So start us off, Adam. Tell us a bit about now. Tell us a bit about the YouTube channel and what you and Mark get up to and where that. So let's start with the now, and then we'll take a job back in a bit.
It's just basically at the moment it's just building, and we've just started, so we haven't been going long really. We've been going just about a year. It's just basically just us, just having a laugh, just two lads who know each other, trying to build a race mini, and the trials and tribulations of it, really. I've got a little bit of an idea of what I'm doing because I've been with some good teams, and you sort of learn stuff and pick up on stuff and stuff like that. So I've got people that are going to help us if it gets to that point, the setup and things like that. So obviously there's Graves and there's other people I know. So hopefully we get to a point where hopefully it's going to be a good car.
So the now is Minis and Motorbikes and the mini project.
Yeah.
Let's go back. How do you end up here? So go on, take us right back.
I was in the cars very early on, actually. Well, it was mainly motocross bikes. I started with motocross bikes. Dave Nicol got us in touch with a chap, and Dad won on the horses. Won some good money on the horses at the time. Right. It was only 300 quid, but at the time 300 quid you could buy a house. Yeah. 300 quid. Yeah. So he bought me a motocross bike and mother a microwave oven. And all she ever cooked in it was sponge and scrambled egg, which was rubber. You can imagine, can't you? So anyway, he bought me this motocross bike, and I loved it. It was scary, but I loved it. And I just kept injuring myself on it. And he said, "Look, it's just not going to work, is it?" He said, "You're going to end up killing yourself or doing some major damage." He said, "I don't want you doing it. You're not doing it. I don't want you anything to do with motorbikes." Because I wanted a motorcycle on the road as well. He said, "No." He said, "Because you're just going to kill yourself." Right. Being blunt about it, And he said, "It's not going to happen. There's no way." So okay then. So obviously I got interested in cars, and I enjoyed cars more. Actually, I felt safer in cars, and I could sort of cope with them better, if you can understand what I mean. Yeah. And obviously, friends used to say I used to be a mad brain and bits and pieces, and obviously you do things as a girlfriend at the time. And she paid for me to have a day at Jim Russell in Snetterton at the time. Right. I don't think it was Jim Russell then, actually. No, it wasn't. I think it was when Brands Hatch Leisure had just started.
So at this point, you've dabbled as an interest there, but you've really done nothing about it at this point.
I wasn't going to. I'd like to have done, but I wasn't going to. And then I did the Formula first, and they basically said, that I would have qualified quite well for the race that weekend that had gone. Had you done it before? I said no, I hadn't. So they got me in contact with Jim Russell at Donington. It was then with John Kirkpatrick and everybody. and we ended up having a week there. They got me up there on a sort of like a scholarship type thing, you know. So it didn't really cost me anything. Well, anyway, day in, I discovered that I couldn't fit in a Formula Ford, doing about 70 or 80 miles an hour down the crane of curves, and ended up in the old hairpin gravel because my knee had got caught under the steering wheel and I couldn't brake basically.
Right.
So heartbroken. John Kirkpatrick moved me across to Saloons, and then that was it. It was like a switch just clicking on. It was wonderful. I just felt.
Was that the bit you were telling me on that piece? They'd said to you to have a go, but kind of just don't try and keep up with them.
They'd sent us out because they had an advanced group and a beginner group then, and they'd sent me out to try learn the circuit and get used to the car because obviously the other lot had 2 or 3 days in the car and learnt the circuit in the Saloons because although the lines are the same, the drive, it's front wheel drive, it's totally different kettle of fish really. Doing about a 4 lap on about a 4, and Malcolm Smith says, slow down. And I was, I'm not pushing it. I'm not, out of control or nothing. That's not, And of course, I'd come in and say, I thought I told you not to try and keep up with them. I told you, you're just there on your own. Let them pass you. If they catch you up, let them pass. I said, I wasn't doing anything, Malcolm.
He wasn't trying.
And I wasn't really trying. It was just happening, And he said, like, oh, right, okay. And then that evening, he took me out in one of the Coltons they had. They had one of the only Lotus Coltons then, funny enough, and which I think I think John Kirkpatrick had that as his company car, and I think Malcolm had a GSI 3000, I think it was. It was the same shape, but it was. And then that was it. Then really, they sort of give me extra tuition as we're going through, and it all sort of led from there.
Brilliant.
And then I was going to sign Honda CRXs with Derek Warwick. I'd got everything was sorted with about a week before we signed in everything up, and I'd lost sponsorship. Basically, I had to find £9,000, which doesn't sound a lot now, but then it was.
Yeah.
I got to find 9,000, and then it helped me find the rest of the sponsorship for the rest of the season. And then we all know what happened, the sad situation with Derek and his brother.
Yeah.
And then it never really happened. So I ended up racing for Jim Russell in their school championship, and I think I come 5th or 6th, I think.
And at this point, because hadn't there been a point, or have we got to it yet, where your dad had said, this isn't for you?
No, he was fine with me doing the cars. It was just motorbikes.
It was just the motorbikes.
But then he made me get. Luckily, now looking back at it now, hindsight is one thing. He made me get a trade. He said, if you want to follow this thing, you've got to get a trade. You've got to have something to fall back on.
Right.
Which you'll find out was a blessing in disguise.
Right.
So I know he was fine with cars. He'd take anywhere I needed to go. He'd take me. The only thing he was sad about is that they hadn't got the money to give me to do it.
Right.
And that was about it really. So then obviously I didn't know what to do then, and I was trying to find sponsorship. Actually, it was trying to find sponsorship for the CRXs. I found Harlow Sheet Metal in Harlow. They were
right.
big. And then Len Simmons then said, well, actually, we've got our own team. Why don't you come and see us? And that's when I met Steve Warby and the Harlow gang. And that's when it all started. I was going to do 5 turbos to start off with, then Clios. And I did a bit of Clio racing and did all right with it. The only one that does stand out was Brands Hatch. I'd qualified at the back of the grid, obviously, because I hadn't got a clue what I was doing. And the grid then was really good drivers.
Yeah.
You've got Robin Parsons and Jonathan Salem, and all that. They were all good, all pretty quick. And by the end of the first lap, I think I was 5th or 6th from, and I nearly hit Robin Parsons up the backside because my start was so good.
Right.
And I thought, here we go, I'm here. This is all right.
You've arrived.
This is all right. I'm here. And of course, instead of being a normal 20-lap race, I think it was a 40-lap race, and I just wasn't fit enough.
Right.
It was at that point that I realised that fitness was the key to it all.
But in your mind, you were up for it.
I was up for it. I was like, here we go. With the Lions, but we're here. And I just dropped off. I ended up 13th in the end. And then after that, it was just struggling with money and bits and pieces. And I was hoping to get in sponsorship from a couple of major companies, and they pulled out because one of them had laid off like 5,000 people.
Right.
They couldn't be seen to be given sponsorship to motor racing, and the other company went to sponsor one of the touring cars. Went over, because they sponsored the touring car team anyway, but then they were going to give everything to the touring car team, basically. And that was it. I just left.
So that's
without a drive and.
Over what period? If you think about that roller coaster, it was. I don't fit into that car. Now you can fit into this car.
Yeah, probably 2.5 years. Yeah, 2.5, 3 years probably, I think. Yeah, probably 2.5 years.
So from that, because
Yeah.
it was a passion there, wasn't it? You wanted to do this
every day. Even now, every day, I wake up in the morning, I'm thinking racing cars, and when I go to sleep, the last thing I think about is racing cars, and it's all day, every day. I mean, when I was doing the gym, I'd watch touring cars, in-car touring cars, and I'd watch the touring car races. I'd watch Formula One every morning.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where Mum and Dad were actually, they weren't interested in motor racing, but they became interested in motor racing. Mum's favourite was Michael Schumacher, which we used to have a lot of laughs about.
Yeah.
And we'd sit and watch the Grand Prix every Sunday and stuff like that. And they were into it. They were really into it. And, it's just obsessed with it. I was obsessed with trying to get into a car, and as you know, the mind plays funny games with you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I was going through a lot in personal situation in life as well. I struggled when I was younger, with the usual sort of bullying. Well, that's a big thing now, isn't it? Bullying and people telling you you're not any good at anything, and it gets to a point where that is 70% of your mind instead of the other way around. You want the positives to be 70% and the negatives to be 30%, and it was just a continual battle against it, really.
Did you find that when you were getting into the motorsport back then, did you find that was something that really focused your mind and kind of pulled you or separated you away from the negativity at that point?
Not really. In a way, it did. When I did well, it was something else, and then it dragged you on to something better. But as soon as you had a little nick in the armour and something happened, bang, you'd be back at the back of the grid. You wouldn't be, your mind had just, as Ricardo, classic example of him now.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's holding him back now with the McLaren is his brain. It's nothing else. And it just is so destroying.
Yeah.
And then people pick up on it as well. And the not so nice people tend to drag you even further back down with it. And it's a bigger fight to get over that.
It's interesting, this, isn't it? Because something I guess a lot of people hearing that will relate to, and this doesn't just happen in motorsport, is it? You can get to a point where you just
be playing darts for the local pub team.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah.
It's anything.
And you just suddenly that self-belief, that little voice in your head, suddenly introduces that doubt.
I see it as in the cartoons where you had Pluto or Goofy, they had the angel on one shoulder and they had the devil on the other shoulder.
Yeah.
It's exactly like that.
Yeah.
It's exactly like that.
So
it's awful.
So what happened then? So at that point, then you were trying to get sponsorship. You were getting involved with the Harlow
I've
sheet
always
metal.
struggled trying to get sponsorship, always. And there's never been anyone to help me say, well, you need to do this, you need to speak to them, And the thing that really bugged me is I knew people who were multi-millionaires and they were good friends. They'd got big companies, but because I was seen as a bit of a joke, they wouldn't help me. And that really bugged me, bugged me. And that was always the way, really. And then you'd get to a point where, we give you some money. And then it was always something that just knocked you back. It's just a continual knockback.
Yeah.
And then when you did do something, you did okay. And then, of course, because of the knockbacks, when I actually come to do I've got some money together to do some proper racing, it took me that much longer to get to the point that I was at, to start off with.
You described to me as well, when we've been in conversation, about the fact you almost find yourself, when you're in that zone, that you're almost...
You're looking in on it.
You're looking in on it.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that.
It's really weird. I've only happened to one. It's that holy grail that everyone looks towards. Because there's a friend of mine. He helped me a lot with the mind, really. And we used to do sort of little exercises as well. And there was a couple of drivers that he used to work with, and they could never get. They were desperate to get to that point. Well, I used to call it like a fluid brilliance, where it's almost like you're looking in on yourself. When everyone says, you have an out-of-body experience, and you're floating above yourself in bed and you can see. It's almost like that. You're looking in and nothing's a problem. Nothing, the car might break away, but you automatically, before it's even happened, you've given out, you're on it, and it's there. It's just...
I love that term, fluid brilliance.
Yeah.
So it's just
you're
feeling
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're feeling it before you felt it.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean? And it's only happened a couple of times, I would say, really.
So if you've got to think about it, it's too late, isn't it?
Yeah, it's too late. Don't think about it. Yeah, it's just got to happen. Yeah.
So what happened next then?
Oh, what, the driving?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I didn't get the sponsorship I wanted, so the team gave me a car, basically, gave me a Renault 5 Turbo, so we got it all set up and everything. He set it all up for me. And my late brother come with me to run it, and a girlfriend come with me, and I thought, right, here we go. We just, he advised me, we do what we've been doing and everything, you know, let them go out on the qualifying, just let them go and then get ahead of you, so you're not getting dragged into anything you don't want to get dragged into, and just work it at your own time, work up to your speed and get this rhythm, because everything's about a rhythm. Consistency and rhythm is the most important thing.
Right.
You know, it's almost like a drum beat. Bump, 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 bump. You're driving around, it's like this. You know, everyone took the mickey out of Sylvester Stallone film Driven, didn't they, with his humming? It's not far off.
Right.
It's just this. You get this rhythm with it. You know, you've got your turning, you've got your clip and your exit and everything else. And there's that. You know, put the wheel across on that bit, and it's
a dance.
just
It's
it's almost like a dance. It's just this rhythm. Get your rhythms right, and then you get into this state. You see, where you're not really, you know, the muscle memory's working. The cars, you're not thinking about, I've got a brake here. It just happens. You know, and then that's when you tend to get this state. So I'd let them all go, and then by the time they'd got to the second corner, I was up with the back of the pack. I'm thinking, bloody hell, this car's flying. I'm going to win this. And of course, then, because I was in that state of mind of, whoa, here we go, chest out, I'm going to win this, everything else had just gone out the window. I wasn't thinking of the rhythm and just work up to it.
You started to think.
I'd started to think. And I think I was reading the motor and news headlines as I was going down at the back straight, you know, and then on the second lap round, I come round, gone into the bomb hole, not concentrating properly, problems with the tyre, back end broke out, turned into it, floored it, knocked it down a bit, floored it, sat, pulls it straight, you know, front wheel drive, thought, got to keep it on the tarmac, spun round, hit the infield, and then hit some rabbit ditches, and then did a multiple barrel roll, and that was it. And I sort of come round and...
What kind of speed were you at there?
I don't know, I reckon it's probably, I don't know, I honestly couldn't say. It's probably 80 mile an hour, I reckon. It might have been a bit more, because it picked up speed on the grass, you see, because there's slicks you got, you know, it's just picked up there and it's bang, and all I can remember is this bang, and then it was just slow motion. The window broke, and it was going on. All I can remember, my head was literally level with the grass, and I'm thinking, God, this grass is really bleached. It's lost all this colour. And then there was another bang as the corner of the car had hit it, and it pushed all the roll cage back and everything. And then that was it. And I come round, and the marshal was over me, and I said, oh. And she was a nice tall blonde girl, funny enough. I said, oh, mine of heaven. And she said, no, dear, at Snetterton, you've had an accident. And that was it.
Am I in heaven?
I thought I'd gone. I really thought I'd gone. But it was in total slow motion. It was really weird. Yeah.
So how you know the recovery from that was a
Yeah, well, I got partially detached retina, which no one knew about. Only me and my brother knew about it, because we didn't want mum and dad finding out about it, obviously, and the girlfriend didn't know about it. And I ended up staying at my girlfriend's, so I was out the way of mum and dad.
Right.
And funny enough, then my brother said to my girlfriend, then he said, "This is the beginning. Just be warned," because he used to do motor racing, you see, before, and he'd been, you know, he knew people had been in big accidents. And I think as well, it didn't help the total lack of confidence I'd got in myself anyway, really, growing up and everything else.
Right.
It just got negativity, just got in.
Right.
I just got paranoid, and it was just, you know, they put me on Prozac and everything.
So it was that wasn't just a physical accident.
No, it was more mentally than anything.
Yeah.
I think it was almost the point. I've got to this point where I've been working so hard for, you know, I'd be working 7 days a week so I could do the Jim Russell thing and stuff like that. And I'd worked so hard for it, and it just gone in this split second of a silly mistake, something that should never have happened.
Yeah.
You know, we'd worked on this for so long, and I just squandered it. I just totally squandered it through vainness, really, I suppose.
Because there's suddenly, you know, this is it.
Yeah.
I can win it. Why did you say as well that you didn't want your parents to know about it? What
no,
was
they
that?
stopped me driving. They would stop me racing, and that wasn't going to happen.
Right.
Yeah, that was by hook or by crook. I was still going to try and do motor racing.
Right.
And so I just kept away from it. Obviously, I'd go off to doctors and hospitals and that on my own, and no one would be, you know, and I had my racing licence took away because they were worried if I got a bang on the head that it would make, you know. Anyway, it all got sorted out. But the mental scars are there, because obviously you're not getting into a racing car straight away. Yeah. Everyone says, oh, you know, there's not many people are like that. You know, yourself, if you did it, you'd probably get in there, you'd be fine. But it's the mental damage that was before as a youngster that caused the problems of getting back into it, if you see what I mean.
So this kind of almost like lack of belief, and every now and again you were kind of,
it's
the belief was appearing.
It's like a drug addiction.
Yeah.
you know, when you take that drug, you're like, oh, here we go, we're high. But when you come off that drug, the rock bottom, bang, and that's exactly what the brain was like. It was, I'd be fine one day, you know, and I was so jealous. And I've never been a jealous person, really.
Right.
And the first sort of couple of relationships I had were awful. You know, I wasn't violent or anything. It was just mental. It was just, you just couldn't cope with it.
So it was a almost hopelessness. I'm almost disappointed I'm not going to get it, rather than I'm going to find a way. It was.
It's just I'm never going to do this now. But then you'd go into the garage, and the car would be in the garage, and every day I'd go by thinking, actually, it's not that bad. I reckon I could rebuild that.
Yeah.
And then it start. Oh yeah, no,
it's just a flesh wound.
Yeah, it's just strip it. So I'd strip it. I'd have a weekend then. I'd strip it, and I'd get rid of the shell, and then, you know, my friend would say, you know, you've got to rebuild it and do it, or you've got to rebuild it and sell it. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
I think, well, I reckon I can do that. And then you'd sit in the seat, and you'd get the smells, and you get the sounds coming back, and you think, oh, I think I'll be all right at this. I think we could do it. You know, and
so tell me about that. Tell me, so sitting in the seat, smell. What's happening when you're doing that? What's it feel like when
you're there?
Right.
It's instantly you're there. I could sit in a car now and I could remember stuff, and it's just the smells, the sounds, like the seatbelts. When you take your seatbelts off and they hit the metalwork, it's that noise. That noise is just I can hear it now, and the smell of the fuel where it comes through the bulkhead and things like that, and the smell of the sweat in the seat, and it's everything. Your helmet, the smell of the helmet, and the sounds, muffled sounds around it, and everything else.
You're straight back there.
Yeah.
So coming forward then.
Yeah.
we're sat in front of a car that is clearly this is on a mission. So what's going on then? How do we get from that to here?
Well, I rebuilt the car, and this dear friend of mine, he's one of my best friends, three friends. He's given me more time and more than anyone, really. I should see him more often than I do. Well, a lot of people know him anyway. Steve Warby, File Motorsport. You either love him or hate him. You either like him or you hate him. But I love the guy. I mean, he's sorted me out big time. He's sorted the head out. I mean, even before it even became a thing, we were doing things where you'd sit in a seat and you'd have a stopwatch. Yeah. And you'd imagine it was all about, you know, focusing and imagining the race you want, the start you want, everything. So we'd sit in a chair with a stopwatch, and we'd make a game of it, you know, where we'd do a lap of Brands Hatch, and you start this, like, go, boom, you start this lap, and you talk your way around the circuit, and you're driving the circuit, blah, 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 stop, boom, over the line, and you'd see who would get closest to the lap time. Yeah. It's just,
This is and did that predate car simulators?
Yes.
Right. So this was you're kind of living and breathing that circuit.
Yeah. We didn't believe in we still sort of struggle with them now. It's only because I've been in with Mark, who's with Minis and Motorbikes. I've been in his son's VR headset thing. I thought they were, because you haven't got any. I mean, obviously the modern ones are different because you've got the car moves and you know, and you can get that movement in it. But I just didn't believe in them because I was always hopeless at computer games anyway. Right. I just couldn't do them.
But walking it through, almost like doing the knowledge of as the taxi drivers would say, but of the racetrack. Yeah. But it's not just doing it; it's living every minute of it.
Because you know with the braking points, so you know where your little marks are for your turnings, your clippings, and all this sort of thing. You know where you can put a wheel over to give you another tenth, or it's silly little things. Or there's a mark in the grass. You know. So you're using all the circuit. You see it now where a lot of the drivers aren't using all the circuit. Yeah. You know, they're missing their clipping points by that much, and you're thinking, well, that's, you know, if you add all those corners up, it's not the straights that are important. If you add all those corners up, you've got another tenth or 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, and it is marginal gains.
It is marginal
gains.
Yeah. You know.
So from that then.
Yeah.
How do we get to this?
Oh yeah, no. Well, we rebuilt the 5 turbo, and I thought, oh, you know, I'm not going to do any motor racing now. It's all over. You know, I've had my chance, and because you know the big things were going to happen. Well, it was going to be touring cars. It was definitely going to be touring cars, and I've got a deal. It was being worked out for a deal anyway, and this accident just curtailed everything. It just stopped that. Obviously, it had gone. You know, the weeks had gone by, and it was just no, that's never going to happen now. So then we got the car built, and he said, "Right, we'll take it. We'll book a test out at Brands Hatch." So I booked a test out at Brands Hatch, and it was peeing down, absolutely peeing down. Didn't have any wets, just had slicks. And of course, Steve come down, and he said, "I'll meet you down there." And being a Yorkshireman, he's pretty crafty. He come down earlier to see if I actually get out, and he stood on the pit wall, and And he come back into the pits on the other side of the paddock. He said, where the bloody hell are you? Where are you? I said, you should be out there doing laps. You know, you've missed half the session. You know, I said, oh, you know, I haven't got any fuel. I've got to get my suit on. I was finding any excuse not to get in that car.
Yeah.
Absolutely every excuse not to get in there. And then he said, I'll put the fuel in. Get your suit on. Just get out there. So I got out there and I did one lap and come back in. He said, well, yeah, what you come back in for? I said, well, it's got a misfire. It's all over the shop. I should be on wet, so I shouldn't be on slicks. So I said, just get out there. I said, I don't care how fast, Joe. Just get out there. Of course, it's all over the shop on the slicks. And he said it differently anyway. When he'd set it up, he'd set it all different, so it was a bit more forgiving. It wasn't quite so harsh. And anyway, after about 10 laps, fine, I was starting to get into it. The car was moving, and I wasn't frightened of that movement.
Right.
As soon as it started to roll,
yeah.
I think that's it. I've had it. I'm gone. You know, and I couldn't cope with that. But as soon as I realised, then the brain starts to think, well, actually, it's not. It's, you know, and then you start getting used to it. And then we kept up with there was a 911 that was going around, and I kept up with it. You know, I was on slicks, and you know.
So what's the belief doing now?
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, hang on a minute,
yeah.
this is all right. I can get back into this. It's not that bad, you know. And then you start thinking, well, actually, I had a multiple barrel roll at 800 miles an hour, and I didn't kill myself. And I said that's a 1 in a million thing. It's probably only ever going to happen once. Sometimes it never happens to anybody.
Yeah.
And then that's when the positivity starts. And then obviously he helped me a lot with positive, you know. And then there's other people, of course, Mark as well, who's off camera at the moment. You know, they help you get your head around it. I mean, I still have dips and troughs, but it's fascinating how powerful the brain is.
Yeah.
And as a kid who's doing karting now, and I'll just give her some little tips. I don't know, because obviously I can't remember exactly what we did and how we did it, but there's still little things I tell her to do now. And it's sort of helped her a bit. Yeah. I don't know if she's just telling me that it's helped her just to keep me happy, or it's actually helped her, but she's winning stuff now.
Yeah.
And you know, and even if it's just making her calm down, I said, you've just got to calm down, you've got to enjoy it, because it's that enjoyment that gets you that next level. If you're not enjoying it, you're not going to move up to that next level.
Well, I'm absolutely fascinated to follow the story.
Yeah, I think we've got to go for it, definitely.
Yeah. And you know, for anyone else who wants to follow the progress of the car,
definitely,
take a look at
I'd
Minis.
say to people, don't give up. Whatever happens to you in life, just don't give up, because the mind is a funny thing.
Yeah.
I mean, what's happened to my mind, and I've got to this positive situation now. I know I'm you know, mid-50s. I've never felt so good and so you know.
Age is a number, right?
And age is a number. You've got to be positive. You've got to be positive, and that's so important.
So I'm gonna ask you a question I ask everyone who comes on the podcast. So let's just imagine for a minute that we've cracked time travel.
Yeah. Okay.
So what you've got the ability to do, you can write yourself a note.
Yeah.
Put it in an envelope.
Yeah.
And you can leave it for your younger self to find.
Yeah. I know exactly what I'm going to say.
What are you going to write?
Buy the Clio.
Buy the Clio.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't hire anything or pay to buy it and do it off your own back.
Right.
If I'd have done that, I'd have probably got the touring cars. I should have listened to Mr. Warby, because Mr. Warby told me that. Right. But I thought I was getting sponsorship from these big companies, so it wasn't going to be an issue, because they'd put foot the bill lately. So I used that money to do separate testing and stuff like that to get used to the car. Where if I'd actually bought the car, I'd have had the car, and that'd have been it. I could have worked better with it.
So the message, buy the car.
Yeah.
That was, would that be underlying what you believed you could do? What was the significance of buying the car?
I think I would have got the sponsorship and done what I needed to do to get to touring cars.
Right.
If you understand, if that's
yeah.
Instead, I thought it was predestined anyway.
Right.
And it wasn't.
Right.
I thought I was going to get there, whatever happened, and it wasn't.
So this was a bit of taking control.
Yeah, and what I should have done was realise that anything could happen.
So the message is
buy the Clio.
Buy the Clio.
Yeah.
And I suppose whatever walk of life you're in, whatever you're trying, we all have that buy the Clio moment.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
definitely.
Just do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't be frightened to have a go at anything. Do it. Just do it.
Fantastic, Adam. It's been an absolute blast.
Will
you come back and talk to us as the
of course we will. Yeah,
when it gets on the road?
When we get it on the road, we do a test day on that and take people out in it and stuff. So Been a
Alex,
pleasure.
it's brilliant. Thank you
I've
very
loved
much.
it, yeah.
So that has been One Thought at a Time with Ian Travers and our guest from Minis and Motorbikes, Adam Palmer. So if you want to find out more about what's going on Minis and Motorbikes, go look at their YouTube channel. And as ever, you can reach out to us in the normal way. So thanks for watching. See you next time.